Today is day 64 of 365, and this is basically just a quickie check-in. Had a pretty cool Saturday. It's St. Patty's weekend, which is why I'm wearing this green scarf right here. So for the journal, this is actually day 43 and maybe day 44. I've been listening to a lot of Neville Goddard. I've been listening to I found this really good. I may plug it in the journal. I found a really good audio today that came up because I've been listening to a lot of Neville Goddard. If you listen or if you watch YouTube a lot, you know how that happens. And it was a really good little explanation about how easy it is to, like, say for instance, say a really blatant statement like, oh, that person is, you know, not as awakened, and kind of like compare them to yourself and say that they're, you know, oh, that person's not smart or whatever, or they're not bright enough. And I found it interesting because, of course, it can be easy to do that. Today I was around a lot of people that, you know, don't really care, or they don't seem to talk about any personal development stuff, but they were kind of like seemingly developed people because they, like, for the most part, they were all business owners and they were pretty just down to earth and kind of like cool people. But like none of the conversation centered around anything that was like deeply satisfying for me, as in it wasn't anything, just was like all very surface level conversation, which is fine and I can do that, but I do find that to be more exhausting. Anyways, it's easy to have this thought that like, oh, well, they're not as evolved, or like, you know, to some extent like that, but it's not entirely true. Like I said, they, you know, are pretty cool people. However, the video was interesting because my main takeaway, and I'll plug it in case you want to watch it, but where even if I want to look back at it, I think I will do that. I just feel like the main takeaway in the video is that everybody is this like expression of you. Like if this were a dream, then of course everybody in your dream, and actually I feel like Leo's talked about this before too, everybody in the dream is a representation of you. So like everybody is you, so it brings a whole nother level of compassion to the table if you just realize that everybody is you, an expression of you. I just like the energy of that. I like the lightheartedness of that, because I think one of the biggest things when I was growing up is just thinking like, is just learning that everything is so serious, like everything is so fragile, everything has to be so just so regiment and so like, uh-oh, don't do this, fear-filled, I guess is the word I'm looking for, when in fact it's not that at all. And sometimes I do have this feeling of just that feeling of being a part of everything, or that feeling of being in the energy of like what is without being in my thoughts, or like being in my head. And it always feels really good, you know what I mean? It always feels very it's the energy of let go without necessarily letting go. It's just the energy of not being in your head. And I don't know, that always feels really good. And I like the idea that everybody is this expression of you. It does take the pressure off of feeling the need to judge at all, like at all. And sometimes it can be not so easy, but sometimes it is really easy and it feels really free. In today's journaling, I feel like it's super clear that I have to get a hold of my time management. There are plenty of times when like time will go by and I'll just be like listening to like a good audio, or I'll be like reading something, or I'll even be just like staring out the window, because I do that a lot. And I want to like reel things back in so that I actually feel like I have control over my time more and I'm getting stuff done. I am writing a new speech for the opportunity I have next week to do a TED Talk version talk at my coach's event, and I want that talk to be a really big embodiment of all of my really good, or my opinion, my good stories that I've written about my experience so far. So I have a good one about when I got laid off, which I actually want to create something around that, because I feel like when I was laid off, I couldn't shed a tear, but it would have been a great time to explore myself more. So I want to just kind of like create some stuff around that. I want to talk about that. So really my speech is kind of already written, so I'll be doing some editing tomorrow to come up with a way to string that stuff together and perhaps even use a little bit of the fairy tale stuff that I've been working on. But yeah, the audio I listened to earlier was also really good as far as talking about characters and how we each have our own like character, so to speak, but that being part of the fabrication as well. I feel like this video is pretty rambly, and that's because it's late and probably because it was St. Patty's Day, so I got to have some St. Patty's Day festivity style beverages. And yeah, but anyways, I'm hopping off. I feel like this video was probably a little bit blah. The other thing I'm noticing too, like as I'm more conscious and I do my sentence structures, is I get so annoyed when I just waste words and not really say what wants to be said. Like I really, for me, expression is a really big deal. Like it really is a big deal for me to say whatever needs to be said and say like what's on my heart, like to an extent to where I almost feel like I said too much. Like I hate that feeling that I had like said too much, because I feel like you never really can say too much. But at the same time, like if you have that feeling like you said too much, then maybe you actually said enough to get out whatever's on your heart. Whereas, you know, if you didn't really say everything, or you kind of like left some pieces that you deemed inadequate or not acceptable, if you didn't include those, then you kind of sell yourself short over time. It's like so easy to screw yourself when it comes to self-esteem and self-acceptance. Like with every minced word, with every like thing you hold back, is like this affirmation, this silent affirmation that you're not accepting yourself, that you're not asserting yourself, that something has to be like hidden or left out every time you act like that. And I feel like I'm just super aware of that, especially with the sentence structures, but even before that, because I feel like I just have this innate drive to just get stuff out. But it's similar to also just like my love of listening to or like watching video, like Leo's videos or reading Osho. It's very similar. It's just like wanting to add into and have that same like level of just self-appreciation that it takes to do that. Anyways, I'm hopping off. I'm such a drag, but this video, oh no, it's so long too. Anyways, I'm hopping off. I will hop back on tomorrow with a little bit more structured journal entry.